This is a CBS News special report. I'm Jeff Glor reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York. Good morning. President Trump is about to sign a proclamation honoring the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Monday is the federal holiday celebrating his birth. This will also be his first chance, if he chooses, to address before cameras the controversy he created yesterday when he made a profane comment at the White House. The president used a vulgarity we will not repeat to describe African nations and Haiti, and suggested the U.S. take more immigrants from Norway. Democratic Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois was at that meeting. He addressed what happened earlier. Senator Durbin spoke this morning after the president tweeted. Mr. Trump wrote that while he used what he called tough language, he never said anything derogatory about Haitians other than Haiti is obviously a very poor and troubled country. I'm quoting. He said, never said take them out, made up by Dems. I have a wonderful relationship with Haitians. Probably should record future meetings. Unfortunately, no trust. Let's listen to the president right now.
I want to thank Secretary Carson, along with Isaac Newton Farris, Jr., and the many distinguished guests for joining us here today. It's a great honor. Earlier this week, I had the tremendous privilege to join Isaac and Alveda to sign into law legislation redesignating the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historic Site to the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historic Park. The new law expands the area protected, and historic sites for the future generations of Americans are becoming so important, and this is a great honor for us and a great honor to Dr. King. Today we gather in the White House to honor the memory of a great American hero, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. On January 15th, 1929, Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia. He would go on to change the course of human history. As a young man, Dr. King decided to follow the calling of his father and grandfather to become a Christian pastor. He would later write that it was quite easy for me to think of a God of love, mainly because I grew up in a family where love was central. That is what Reverend King preached all of his life: love. Love for each other, for neighbors, and for our fellow Americans. Dr. King's faith and his love for humanity led him and so many other heroes to courageously stand up for civil rights of African Americans. Through his bravery and sacrifice, Dr. King opened the eyes and lifted the conscience of our nation. He stirred the hearts of our people to recognize the dignity written in every human soul. Today we celebrate Dr. King for standing up for the self-evident truth Americans hold so dear, that no matter what the color of our skin or the place of our birth, we are all created equal by God. This April we will mark a half-century since Reverend King was so cruelly taken from us by an assassin's bullet. But while Dr. King is no longer with us, his words and his vision only grow stronger through time. Today we mourn his loss, we celebrate his legacy, and we pledge to fight for his dream of equality, freedom, justice, and peace. I will now sign the proclamation making January 15th, 2018, the Martin Luther King Jr. federal holiday, and encourage all Americans to observe this day with acts of civic work and community service in honor of Dr. King's extraordinary life, and it was extraordinary indeed, and his great legacy. Thank you. God bless you all, and God bless America. And with that, I'd like to ask a great friend of mine, Secretary Carson, for remarks. And then we're going to be signing the very important proclamation. Thank you very much. Ben?
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here today, celebrating this solemn occasion. And I thank you for signing legislation to designate the birthplace, church, and tomb of Dr. Martin Luther King as a National Historic Park. His monumental struggle for civil rights earned these places in his life, faith, and death the same honor as Mount Vernon and that famous humble log cabin in Illinois. This April, we will observe the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's assassination. I remember so vividly that day as a high school student in Detroit. Far from silencing his dream, death wrought him immortal in the American heart. His message of equality, justice, and the common dignity of man resounds today, urgently needed to heal the divisions of our age. Today we honor the legacy of the man who marched on Washington for jobs and freedom, achieving both for millions of Americans of all races and backgrounds. But his legacy also calls us to remember where these ideas, equality, freedom, liberty, get their power. Our good efforts alone are not enough to lend them meaning. For by what shall I be called equal to another man? It cannot be by wealth, for there will always be one richer than me. It cannot be by strength, for there will always be one stronger than me. It cannot be by success or happiness or beauty or any other pieces of the human condition which are distributed through providence. So perhaps providence alone is the answer. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. With these familiar words, our Declaration of Independence recognizes the true author of our common dignity, one that is beyond every human law and institution. If we forget this source of our fundamental equality, then our fight to recognize it in our society will never be fulfilled. This is a truth that Dr. King carried with him from Selma to Montgomery, from a pulpit in Atlanta to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, from a cell in Birmingham to the entire world. This year, we will not remember his slaying as the ending, but as a beginning, as a moment when his truth rose stronger than hatred and his cause larger than death, as a moment when he called to new life with his Creator, before whom all men shall one day stand in equal rank, bearing with them no riches but the content of their character. If we keep this conviction at the center of our every word and action, if we look upon our countrymen as brothers with a shared home and a common destination, then instead of meaningless words rolling off of our tongue, we will truly create one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we're going to have a word from Pastor Isaac Newton Ferris, the nephew of Dr. Martin.
All right, as we listen to HUD Secretary Ben Carson on this MLK Day event at the White House, we are also continuing to report on the events inside the Oval Office yesterday when the president made these explosive comments during an immigration meeting. The meeting was with a number of senators. Among them was Senator Dick Durbin, who responded today after the president denied making some vulgar comments that were attributed to him yesterday. Here's Dick Durbin.
In the course of his comments, said things which were hate-filled, vile, and racist. He used those words advisedly. I understand how powerful they are. But I cannot believe that in the history of the White House, in that Oval Office, any president has ever spoken the words that I personally heard our president speak yesterday. You've seen the comments in the press. I have not read one of them that's inaccurate. To no surprise, the president started tweeting this morning denying that he used those words. It is not true. He said these hate-filled things, and he said them repeatedly.
And the president said in his tweet that he used, quote, tough language, but did not use the language that has been attributed to him. Let's go to Margaret Brennan now at the White House. Margaret, what is the White House reaction?
Well, the words dignity and equality, regardless of the place of birth, or what the president said today on camera yesterday, what he told that room of about 9 other individuals, was denigrating those from Haiti and African countries as being from expletive-hole places. It's caused a diplomatic backlash. Our top U.S. diplomat in Haiti was summoned to explain the president's comments. Difficult questions for many of our representatives around the world, particularly in Africa. And on Capitol Hill, the president's comments may cost him some of the bipartisanship he had hoped to get, making it difficult for Democrats to reach across the aisle and ultimately broker that comprehensive immigration deal he said he so badly wanted. And so the president today saving his denial for Twitter. The White House took its time, though. They did not deny these comments yesterday, Jeff.
All right, Margaret, thanks very much. And as you see, the president just finished signing this MLK Day proclamation following his comments, and then comments from Ben Carson, the HUD secretary, and a pastor as well. We are expecting that reporters inside that room will be asking questions of the president, whether or not he is willing to respond this afternoon. Let's listen in for just a moment.
Mr. President, will you respond to these serious questions about your statement, sir?
No, Mr. President, absolutely.
You're talking to the president, not me, sir. Mr. President, are you a racist?
All right, so the president has left that event. As you heard, a number of questions being shouted to him. He did not respond. We will wait and see if there is any further response via Twitter or via any event later on this afternoon. This afternoon, Mr. Trump is going to Walter Reed for his first physical as president. Afterward, his doctor will put out a statement. We will get a more detailed account of that exam early next week. We will have much more about all of this on your local news, on this CBS station, on our 24-hour digital news platform, CBSN, and right here tonight on the CBS Evening News. Till then, I'm Jeff Glor, CBS News in New York.
For news 24 hours a day, go to CBSNews.com.